This time we finished Hollow Knight Silksong. I absolutely loved the first Hollow Knight game, and I thought it was really good. And this game is right up there. I do think that Silksong, from what I have played so far, is better, but at the same time, I think that they're very close. I had an absolutely phenomenal time playing Silksong. It is one of my recent game highlights, and it is a title that I am going to definitely be replaying and definitely doing more of the content. Of course, this review ends at Act 2 because I got the first ending, which is at the end of Act 2. I have not explored Act 3 yet. I haven't done any of those bosses, but from what I've played so far, it's phenomenal. So, let's rate it. Graphics for a game made by 3 people, it is amazing. The level of visual effects that went into this, the level of quality, and I know we've all been talking about how the AAA industry is really struggling right now and they're going through a lot of problems, but a game like this truly cements the fact that the companies in the industry, like the EAs and the Ubisofts, should be afraid. Because indie developers are creating absolutely phenomenal experiences that are technologically sound, are gorgeous, have amazing gameplay, really deep, unique worlds, and this game really has it all. The graphics were fantastic. They are definitely a step above the first game, and I think that they just looked so perfect. And with the fantastic graphics, of course, comes the aesthetic. I thought the aesthetic was so immersive. I thought it was so well executed. I think each area has its own distinct style while not feeling like they're part of different games. They all flow together extremely well, and there's so much variation with all of the different little spools, with all of the different buildings, with all of the different little details that truly show how passionate these developers are and truly how talented they are at what they're doing. This is a game that deserved all of the praise that we thought it would. We waited a long time for this title to come out, and the developers said that it took so long because they were enjoying making the game, and I can see that. You can see this high level of quality and passion that went into this. So the aesthetic is extremely immersive. Hollow Nest is so cool, and I loved Farloom. I have loved both of these games, and this one ties in so well to the first game. So very immersive. The music is also fantastic. During the boss fights, the music was very intense usually, unless it's a fight where it's supposed to be much softer and it's supposed to be a little bit scarier. This game actually has a really good mix of very serious and intense and scary fights and very creepy fights, and then there are some that are like very funny and very silly and very cute, but the music was always so well balanced. I thought that it was so magical, and I have to give it the highest score possible. The difficulty was definitely up there. Obviously, there are some people who think that this is too difficult. There were journalists that were complaining about it being so hard and so unfair, that these developers don't care about appealing to the masses. I think that's complete and utter BS. I think that this game gives you a lot of tools to make an experience easier, and if you really pay attention to the way that the bosses are playing and the way that they're fighting and the moves that they're making, you can generally overcome it with, I don't want to say little difficulty, but it's not like so far we had ran into a fight where I just was not having fun. All of these fights were so enjoyable, and it definitely feels tougher than the first game. And I think that that was pretty obvious that that was going to be the case because there's a natural progression. It's been 7 years since the first game came out. They expected you as a player to grow as well during that time, and so they wanted to start off the game packing a punch, and they definitely did that. And I definitely thought it was hard. I definitely thought it was tough, but I did not feel that it was unfair or annoying or I wanted to rip my hair out. So it definitely was hard, but that is not a bad thing. It is extremely satisfying when you kill a boss. It is rewarding and it's fun. The boss fights were also amazing. I don't think I would quite say godlike yet, but again, I have not explored Act 3, and I have heard that there are some extremely tough bosses there too. I would be curious to see how tough the final boss is of the other endings. So I'm gonna go great, but I could imagine me bumping this up to godlike pretty easily. Widow's fight is one of the most fun boss fights I have played in a long time. It was phenomenal with the bells and the running and the wall climbing, and you have to be very careful with your positioning in the air in order to heal, which is also a very cool mechanic in this game. All of them were very cool, and they did definitely make me rage at times, for sure. But I think a good boss fight that makes you rage but makes you feel happy with your performance by the end is what matters the most in this game. Definitely nailed that. I will definitely not miss Trobito though. That gay little bug. So I'm gonna go great, but again, I could imagine it being godlike. Bugs, there was a fucking lot of bugs in this game. I mean, we are talking a massive amount of bugs in this game. This game didn't lag, it didn't stutter, it didn't crash. And for a team made by 3 guys, it is phenomenal, the level of quality that went into this. We see so many games releasing now and being pure trash that it's shocking when a title comes around and that's not the case, and that wasn't the case here. So I'm gonna go none encountered, but really, there was so many bugs. It was super buggy. The story was also really good. I'm curious to see how the different endings change the story. Also, when you are finishing up some of the quests to see how like character relationships progress. Hornet was abducted from Hallownest and brought to Farloom. She has to find out why that happened. She is kind of struggling with getting used to like the situation that she's been thrust into. She needs to find out who did it. She has to go on this pilgrimage. It doesn't have a very heavy narrative story, but there's a lot of lore and environmental storytelling, which I think they did really well in this. Honestly, extremely well. One of the best examples of like environmental world building that I personally can think of in a video game, and the relationships that you build in the game with characters like Chakra are really cool. A lot of the NPCs are very interesting because if you play your Needlin next to them, they will sing, and some of those songs connect and it tells like a deeper story. I think that them giving you those smaller pieces of the larger story is nice, and Hornet being a mix between like a bug and a god is really cool. And while I don't know all of the endings because I don't want them spoiled, because I do actually want to play this myself and I do want to experience them myself, I thought it was really good. Very similar to a Souls-style story, yes. Not in the sense of the story itself is similar, but in the way that they tell the story in small fragments and you really have to take the time to piece them together is really nice. So I'm gonna go good. Again, it's not quite a narrative-heavy story, but what was there is nice. The gameplay is challenging yet amazing. I could not imagine at this point adding anything to the game that could enhance the game. Everything feels so good. I thought that the variation of tools was nice. The silk abilities was really cool. I think that all of the abilities you get, like double jump, are really cool. The needle spear is nice. And of course, like I mentioned before, the game is definitely tough. It definitely at times makes you feel a little bit enraged, but it is amazing. Quality of life was also perfect. I like how they give you a compass, and you can choose to use that compass or not use that compass. You can pick up the maps or you can not pick up the maps. There are a lot of different ways to travel, whether it's with the Bell Beast or with the elevators. I thought it was perfect. No big criticisms. Now, my playthrough was long for the first 2 acts because I was really taking my time, and there were definitely sections that I didn't want to give up on that took us a little while, like getting the double jump took a little while, that's for sure, but I would willingly put over 100 hours into this game. And the fact that it's $20 for this level of quality is mind blowing. After getting the other endings, I could imagine easily putting 100 hours into this. So it's definitely long, but if you breeze through the bosses or you only do the main bosses, I'm sure that you could only get 20 or 30 hours of it if that's really what you want. But it's so good. And the price and quality is fucking insane. The fact that this game is only $20 is crazy. These developers could have easily sold this game for $70, and I would still say I want to give you more money because of the level of quality. It is phenomenal from top to bottom, and because it's only 20, this is one of those rare instances where I will say, if this is the type of game you think you would enjoy, go and support the developers so they can continue to make games like this. I usually don't tell you guys to go out and buy something. I did with Expedition 33, which is still my game of the year, but I do think Silksong is a close second. I would be happy for it to win game of the year. But this is one of those times where the price is so low and the devs treated us with so much respect that they deserve all the support that they could possibly ask for. It is worth full price. Honestly, this is a game worth $80, and it's wild that it's not. Replayability is definitely there. I could see myself playing through each ending. There's a handful of playthroughs here. I think that is really good. I wouldn't necessarily say it's unlimited, and I wouldn't say single playthrough either, unless you're going for the perfect ending, and my score is extremely solid. I instantly know I am giving this game a 9 out of 10. I do think once I've gone through Act 3 and I've done the true ending, I could see this being a little bit higher, maybe a 9.2, maybe a 9.3. I still think that Expedition 33 is very slightly better, but when we're only talking about a couple of points, they're both basically on the same level. I still think I preferred E33, though they're close. And I loved Hornet, I love Bellbeast, I love Sharma, I love the rich visual storytelling, this high level of quality, the amazingly polished gameplay, the rare cutscenes were also really cool. Wish we had more of those just because they were so cool. Some of the best boss fights I've experienced all year. Again, Widow is so cool. And even Last Judge was tough, but it was fun. Some of the runbacks are a little bit obnoxious, but this screen lies because it says bugs none seen. We saw a lot of them. But yeah, I love this game. I can't wait to play more of it, and I highly recommend it if you were a fan of the first game, if you're a fan of 2D, if you're a fan of challenging experiences, if you're a fan of games where you have to put a little bit more thought and strategy into it. It is so good, and I loved it, and I highly recommend it.